Damn, we're back at it, Chinch.
Yes, Friday.
Fun Bag Friday. Yeah, I love it, baby. Now we're talking. Dude, this is kind of got a packed show today for Fun Bag. We could talk a little baseball. Got a couple bench clearing brawls we're going to touch on. And then we have our friend Gabby, too, coming on, talking about her hero's journey and beating stage 4 Hodgkin's lymphoma and how she did it.
Amazing story.
So,
amazing story and an inspirational story. And that's what we're all like. We're so psyched to bring these people on nowadays.
Yeah.
And get them going. But let's start with fisticuffs. We'll get into the good stuff later. But fisticuffs, you got Nolan Arenado, Pete Alonso. What's going on in the game right now, in your opinion?
Well, you saw. First off, the Mets have been hit, I think, a league high 19 times, something ridiculous.
In the head. Everybody's getting hit in the head, too.
Alonso's been hit. Yeah, listen, bro, something's not right with Major League Baseball as far as a few years ago. Like, if you go back to, like, I want to say late 80s, early 90s, there was like 840 people hit, something like that. Last year was the most ever. Almost 2,400 people were hit, like almost 3 times the amount. Like, I don't know if guys don't know how to pitch anymore. I don't know if guys don't know how to pitch in. Yeah. I don't know if it's because they throw too hard and they don't have control. I don't know what the hell it is. Like, when I was playing, I hate to say when I was playing, or back, let's even go before I was playing. If you were going to hit a guy in a brawl, you hit him in the lower ribs, you hit him in the ass, you hit him somewhere that's safe. Nowadays, these guys are trying to hit guys. They have no freaking idea where it's going, so they're trying to throw in, and bam, they're hitting guys in the head. They're throwing behind them. It's scary.
Was it Blast?
Dude, listen.
Was it Blast that we had on that said somebody got hit like near the head and turned and goes, the catcher was like, oh, sorry, he has no control. And he said, was it Mazeroski or something? Turn and go, then what's he doing in this league? Right?
He shouldn't be in the league.
Yeah.
He shouldn't be in the big leagues. That's the truth. Like, I think that's what Buck Showalter was kind of pissed about. Like, come on, JD Davis just got hit with a 3-2 fastball in the foot. Right? And I think that's what takes him out of the game. That was in the bottom of the 8th, then in the top 8, and then the bottom 8 was when they threw. For me, though, go back and look at that pitch to Arenado, bro. It's not even close.
Right.
It's not. I think it was an overreaction on Arenado's part because I don't know, man. It was kind of up and in. It was
when you're expecting to be hit, do you think your reaction's a little more fucked up than if you weren't expecting to be hit?
A little bit, probably. Yeah, I can understand because he even says it that he knew something was coming and that So I understand that. I remember in 2002. I got hit in the head by Robert Persons, 3-1 count, 97 miles an hour, hit me right and knocked me out cold, dude. Blew off my ear flap, knocked me out cold. I was bleeding in my ear. My ear spider like opened up. It was a gash, out cold. It was a guy on third, less than 2 outs. So it was a 3-1 pitch. He was trying to come in and he missed and knocked me out cold. I'm like, holy shit. It's scary, dude. I didn't come back. I had a concussion, so I didn't come back for a couple weeks. But the week I came back, we were playing the Giants in Cincinnati, and Gabe White, Barry Bonds is right on the dish, and Gabe White was trying to throw in and get in on his hands. The only way to beat Bonds was to kind of get up and in under his hands. I mean, Chinch, go back and look at the footage of Bonds. Looks like he was on the plate. He's a big dude, right? So Gabe White throws up and in, and the pitch is almost a strike. It's on the dish, but it's up a little bit, but it's on the plate. Right. And Bonds kind of backs up, and he gives a reaction that was kind of bullshit. You know what I mean?
And that just sets a spark off, right, with you guys?
Big time. So then the next inning, I'm leading off or maybe not the next inning. A couple innings later, I come up. And I think the guy's name was Frankie Rodriguez. Remember the guy threw 100 miles an hour for the Giants? Yeah. Well, he comes in, first pitch, bro. I just come back from that concussion. First pitch, he hits me right in the top shoulder. It ricochets off my helmet. I slam it down. Bench is clear. Let's go. Let's get it on. You're kind of like, it's scary, dude. Because I had just been knocked out 2 weeks earlier. I'm in concussion protocol. Then I come back and I get hit with 100 miles an hour. And I was almost like, dude, if you want to hit me, dude, hit me. Right. Drill me in the ribs. I'm a man. I understand the game, but hit me in the ribs. Hit me in the ass. Don't hit me in my shoulder that ricochets off my head. Like, I was pissed. Like, I remember that. Was so pissed off. So like, and then Bonds is over there hugging, Rodriguez saying, good job. Just the whole thing. And gets, when a 100 mile an hour fastball is coming towards your head, it's scary. And
you probably think you're kids, your whole life flashes before your eyes.
Well, it does, man. And so I get it with Arenado because when you know it's coming, it's nerve wracking. I don't think that pitch was that close to him. But listen, the tensions are high. Anytime, it'd be like you being in a rock fight. If someone's 60 feet from you throwing big rocks, you're like, what the hell, dude? I'm calling the cops.
Right.
I'm calling the cops.
Yeah, it's a weapon.
This isn't funny. Like, this is a weapon. Like, this is assault if you're going to hit me with this hard object.
Yeah,
so,
if I just walked out of a grocery store with an orange and threw it in somebody's face, I would get arrested. But you can take a baseball, throw it 100 miles per hour at somebody's face, and then go eat the spread after the game. It's it's very weird.
And it's all good. No, that's why it gets heated, because it's no joke, man. When those balls are coming at your face or behind you, it's no joke. It's a scary thing. And those, dude, I saw them talking about those brawls are scary. I remember one time Ken Griffey Jr. was getting hit a lot, and Scott, I remember you could tell the bullpen was going to take care of it. So we go to Colorado, and Scott Sullivan ends up hitting Brian Hunter. Remember Brian Hunter? Skinny Brian Hunter, fast Brian Hunter, tall. So he hits Brian Hunter. Well, obviously it kind of looked like intentional. Boom, he comes out. I go running in from first base, bro. It was one of the scariest moments of my career because I go running first. Before I can get there, they're fighting. They're throwing punches. Oh, my God. But I'm almost there, and I look to my left. I almost feel a wave of human beings because I'm the first line of defense, and I'm like, holy shit. The whole Rockies dugout is like 5 feet from me.
Oh, my God.
I just went down. I just curled up in a ball, and they swarmed over me. A couple guys went to Sullivan. The brawl was on, but I remember it was a day game. I had I had that flip down glasses.
Yeah,
I get crushed. I remember Todd Helton's on top of me. He's like, "You all right, Case?" Like 7 dudes are on top of me. I'm like, "Not really, dude. This is scary down here. My glasses are mangled, broke. I didn't even do anything. I was going to break it up."
Yeah.
But those fights,
dude,
when all those guys come out, it gets scary, man. It really does. It's such an adrenaline rush too.
Yeah, one relatable story I have. And this was one of the scariest days of my life. Facts, true story. My freshman year of college, Columbia, we're down in the Boca area on our spring trip. And we were playing Barry University, which is a D2 school. But when I'm talking, everybody on this team either looked like Mike Trout, Jose Canseco, or Pudge Rodriguez. They were either small and jacked.
They were all juiced?
I think so.
All on the gas?
I kind of think so. Not that we're saying Mike Trout is juiced right now, but Jose Canseco was. They look like
if you're in college looking like those guys, you're probably on the gas.
Jacked. So listen to this situation. So I wasn't starting, and I am in our dugout on the first base sideline. One out in the inning, runner on third. Batter for the other team does a squeeze bunt. Now when he does the squeeze bunt, our catcher, who was the best player on the team, goes to get it, and he's just staring, waiting. So the guy tags the guy at the plate, and all of a sudden the kid who bunted realizes he has to run. And as he's starting to run, our pitcher was walking down the line, and I don't know, just out of a reaction, pushed the guy who was running to first out of the way. And as he does that, our catcher throws to first, so it's a double play on a suicide squeeze. I turn, because the pitcher was now right next to me, and I'm up against our fence in the first base dugout. I go to high five him, and I look over, and the kid who bunted, Case, is on a full sprint towards our pitcher, and now we're up against, in the high school college fences, it's like a blue tarp, like the tarp was over the fence. So we're up against the tarp, and this guy goes, what the fuck? Takes a swing. Howie Pavar was a pitcher, ducked, and he missed him and hit the fence, and I was like, what the hell? I look over. Now they were hitting. Their entire team is on a full sprint out of their dugout with bats coming right after the pitcher, who is standing behind me, and I'm 5'6" tall. And I was like,
"You're like, we're from Columbia,
dude.
We're from Columbia.
Yeah. We're just trying to get good grades and we just want to be lawyers and doctors, dude." This brawl was so bad because we did have some big guys on our team. I would argue that we won the fight, but it was such a brawl. Police on the field cuffed one guy on the other team who was swinging a bat.
Oh my God, dude.
One guy, and so it ended. Dude, this is a true story. I think I have the video somewhere. Somebody videoed. I have the video. If I can find this video, I'm putting it in here and I'm sending it to you. It was the scariest thing. All the mothers are hysterically crying, and all the fathers are like, "Yeah, fuck them up!" Like it was a crazy experience. And One dude gets arrested, and I came across, this is right when it ended. And I was like the little idiot, like I'm ducking, like sneaking through, trying not to get hit, but I was trying to pretend that I was in the fight. And all of a sudden, our shortstop, Matt Murphy, was I come around the bend, there were 4 dudes just kicking him. And he's all by himself, and he was behind the fight. You know when you're in the fight?
Yeah.
You don't know where anybody is. It's blinding. And I come around, and I go, hey. And these 4 guys looked up, and they just started coming at me, and I'm like, I'm dead. Right at that second, both of our coaches just happened to be in the middle and go, it's over, it's over. And I was like, because I literally 4 dudes, 6'4", 200 pounds, were about to just break me into little pieces. But, dude, it's a true story. It was one of the scariest experiences. And then, wait, so after the fight, do you look and go, hey, that guy didn't jump in a pile with us? Or, like, does that happen? Does the politics start going and being like, where was this guy? Did you ever have that to deal with that?
I think so. I think there's something to be said about that. I think you look around like who's in, who's not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, who stayed back. You know, You'd like to think everybody's going to be in with you. Into the dog pile. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's not the case. You know,
you don't want to fight.
I mean, you remember that fight? What was it? Who was that? Was it Garcia? Who was the right fielder that remember when he charged? No, when he charged Greinke.
Which one?
Remember, he charged
Kareem Garcia? Kareem Garcia was in like 7 fights.
No. That was no. It was whoever was on the Padres, I think, at the time. They charged Zach Greinke
and separated his shoulder. Like, broke his clavicle. They were like, broke his clavicle. Yes.
Yeah.
No, Carlos Quinton, dude. Is that who it was?
Carlos Quinton. That's
he came in with
Yeah, and Carlos Quinton's like a monster, but Greinke didn't back down. But, dude... No. You get it killed with those things, you know, dude. I really quick before I ended up, I got a chance to ask Robin Ventura about charging Nolan Ryan.
Really?
I'm like RV. We were talking one night, we're hanging out. I'm like, RV, what were you thinking when you charged Nolan Ryan? He goes, as I was running out there, I was like, this is such a fucking bad idea. No idea. Next thing you know, he's in a headlock and just like, bam, Nolan's just unloading on him. And Nolan kind of got that third punch where he went under, and you could tell he really got him.
In him?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's terrible. You never want to see somebody getting beat up, but it's fun watching somebody get beat up.
Yeah, but the brawls are scary, man. They really are.
Totally scary.
They're fun when they're over if no one gets hurt, but they're scary. And then with the other brawl I was in was with Coco Crisp when him and James Shields.
Great.
That was crazy. I think I have it. Yeah, I think that's up on the wall right there. Can you see it?
Yes.
Right there. It's like, so you can see like, it's me, Johnny Gomes is throwing punches at Coco Crisp on the bottom pile. Pedroia and Tito are like late to the Golden Corral. OK Corral, not the Golden Corral, the OK Corral. And then, DeMarlo Hale's pulling down James Shields. It was mayhem. And that stuff's. I had Justin Ruggiano a few years later, say, man, we were in the middle of that brawl, and I had a guy in a headlock. I looked down, and it was you. I was like, yeah, what the hell? Why am I in a headlock?
And that was intense, because Shields was a tough dude, and Coco grew up in the hood, man. Like,
bro, no, Coco's best friends were like Gold Glove. Coco was a Gold Glove boxer too, so Shields threw go back and look at that fight, bro. Shields he ducks out of the way, and Coco gives him 3 shots. Yeah. And I'm an idiot because I'm going after James Shields. I run right past Johnny Gomes, who's bundling Coco Crisp at the time.
Bundling is a great word.
And then I got suspended 3 games. I don't even think I did. I went to throw a punch at Shields. It really,
that's a video we have where it looks like you and Euclid are like the head and the tail of like a donkey costume. You're running right out there together. That's crazy, man.
Euc's a good guy to have in a brawl.
I assume so. Gomes probably too. Gomes was in some of the craziest fights ever. He used to fight the Yankees when he was on the Rays all the time.
Alex Cora is trying to pull Gomes off, going, "Hey, mi hermano, what are you doing?" Hey.
Wait, hold on. One last question. I love talking about fights. Are you okay with the guy throwing a helmet back at the pitcher, or no? Now, there's 2 schools of thought to that. One, you just threw a ball at me. Why can't I throw my helmet back at you? And the second school of thought is throw the helmet down, and fight with your fists. So
I don't know. I'm starting to feel like it's not bad. If you throw a baseball at me, I'm throwing my helmet at you first.
Right.
It was like when Bryce Harper came after Strickland a few years ago.
Yes.
Remember, he threw his helmet.
Yes.
And then that was a legit brawl. They squared off.
That was a good one.
Dude, Harper stood up.
Dude,
and
he's a fighter, man. For somebody that grew up as like a celebrity, he can get his hands dirty.
Dude, his dad's an iron worker, bro. Like a tough dude.
Beast.
He didn't grow up in some cookie. His dad was like, "Listen, son, if we freaking square up, let's get it on. We're brawling."
Yeah. Yeah, man, there's nothing like, I'm sorry, I love a good bench clearing brawl in baseball, but whatever.
This has been great, man. Really, really love talking baseball. Love getting after that stuff, too. But we're going to shift gears a little bit here and do a little role reversal. We got a special guest coming on, so why don't you take it away, brother?
Yes, we will, because this young lady was, and I'll say it right now, one of the best graphics producers I have ever worked with in my life. And I say that hands down. I've been doing this for 2 decades. She is a firecracker, awesome in the control room, great at what she does. But the reason we're bringing her on is because she has a story to tell that just goes right into line with what we're doing, okay? Her name is Gab DeCunta, one of the best graphics producers, I said. She was at MLB Network with me for a few years, and with you, we worked together. If you guys have ever watched, like, HQ Trivia, she was in on that. She was working on that stuff, and then something hit her pretty hard, and she fought through that, and what she's doing now is something where I reached out to her, and I was like, we got to get you on to tell your story, because she's amazing. So let's bring in Gabby right now and start telling her story.
Yeah, what's up, Gab?
Hi, guys. It's good to see you both. Thank you for having me on.
Awesome.
Yeah, no problem. Where are you? Out in Jersey right now?
I'm in Jersey, yes.
Yes. I love it. We're in Jersey every once in a while, too. Chinch out there in New York, but... So, hey, listen, on the Mayor's Office podcast, a lot of the guys that we have on, or a lot of the stuff that we do, we love talking about heroes' journeys, the journey of, a lot of times we're going through life and it doesn't go exactly how we planned, and we have to take some detours, and that happened to you. And I think it happened on March 15th, 2021 was the day that you found out you had stage 4 Hodgkin's lymphoma. Can you just take us back to that, what that was like hearing that, and what your feelings were at that time?
Yeah, for sure. So it's kind of like a crazy story, so I'll try to sum it up in a short span of time. But for about a year, like right when the pandemic started, I started getting these crazy migraines out of nowhere, and I didn't really know why. I thought I had COVID, whatever. And then it kind of turned into this like massive back pain, which I kind of just blamed on stress in a way. And I explain that a lot just because I want them to know like how this whole started and how you can just be walking around with something like this diagnosis that I got for, I was walking around with, they don't know the stage, but with cancer for about a year before I actually went and got diagnosed. So it's crazy to think about, right? When like you just hear that in the beginning.
Yeah.
So I wound up getting a Peloton, and I was blaming it on like me doing the bike cycling and all of that. And then
I blame a lot of things on the Peloton.
Yeah. No, listen, you're forward, right? And I'm like, my lower back, it's got to be that. I don't know. You blame everything on everything else in life. And I just kind of was pushing through the pain. And eventually my mom, long story short, I didn't have insurance for that dodgeball in there either. So that was kind of part of the reason why I didn't want to go to the doctor. I didn't have the money to spend, and I didn't want to spend my money on doctors. I wanted to go out and use it for dinners and everything else. So, rent and all the necessities of life stuff too. But my $200 that would have went to urgent care could have went to the bar on Saturday.
Exactly.
So, like I had that in the back of my mind too. So eventually the pain got pretty bad, and my mom was like, we got to go to the ER, whatever. Go to the ER, and they're like, what's your pain? I thought it was a kidney stone or just, I don't know. They said maybe my appendix because it was my right side. And long story short, we went in for his CAT scan, and it came back that I had these swollen lymph nodes, and they're like, you need to be admitted right now. We think it might be lymphoma. And I'm looking at him and I'm like, what the hell is lymphoma? I don't know what that is. I seriously didn't know, which is why I want to like let people know a lot about this, because I was fortunate enough not to have cancer in my life for a while, or really ever. So I didn't know what it was like to get that news or even hear it like through family or friends or anything like that. So when he said that, I kind of was like, yeah, okay, it's not cancer. Like, you're crazy. So I got admitted that night. And before I got admitted, I tested positive for COVID. So I immediately was taken away from like
my
my family and my boyfriend at the time. And it was just, I didn't know what to do. Like they literally, it was like a movie. I explain it, right? Like you're on the bed and you're kind of like, all right, now where do I go? And your family's like calling your name and you're going this way. And it was just like, what the heck's happening to me? So they admitted me that night. And then later on that day, they basically said, listen, we don't know the stage yet, but this is lymphoma. Your COVID's fine. Like you don't have any symptoms. I was asymptomatic. I didn't have a fever or anything like that. Just this crazy pain that I was getting in my back and the migraines. And it turned out being stage 4 lymphoma. And hearing that like alone in the hospital room was just like, it was really unbelievable. Like I didn't know what to expect, what like the process was after hearing that. I didn't even really know like chemo. I knew what chemo was, but I didn't think I needed it. Like I don't know. I was very confused. I didn't know if I needed surgery, radiation. So yeah, it was a lot to take in, but I kind of just rolled with the punches and I'm here in remission today. So.
First of all, that's amazing. Roll with the punches. Yeah. Talk about punches. Those are Mike Tyson uppercuts.
That's a Mike Tyson in his prime uppercut.
Yeah.
So did they tell you in front? So a little backstory here is I reached out to Gab when I started seeing her talk about having cancer because I had cancer too. Some people that listen to this know whatever. And I just checked in on her. But what that initial thing, when it happened for you, like I was with my dad, and I don't know if I've ever even told you this, Sean, but that night, the night I thought I had stage 4 melanoma. I thought I just had something that was taken out, whatever, and they were just going to do a little cuts here. The night that I found out that I had cancer, my mother was going into a surgery that was extremely invasive because she had cancer, but they were trying to do something internally in her and were putting a colostomy bag in her that night that she might not survive. So when I got the diagnosis, I turned to my father and I looked at my father and I'm like, I can't even absorb this. I need to make sure he's okay. Did you have those same feelings, like where you're like, oh, don't worry, mom, I don't want my mom to be upset about this? Because it's a weird way that like the body and your mind controls your emotions during such stressful times like that, right?
Yeah, definitely. It's crazy that you say that was happening with your mom because there was a situation with my grandma. It's well known now, but she actually fell down the stairs and wound up being paralyzed. She still is paralyzed today. Gosh. And it happened probably about 4 or 5 days before I was diagnosed. And then on top of that, which was crazy, her brother, who was my great uncle, who I really didn't speak to, he was older, but he wound up passing away as well. So it was just like these 3 things that hit me. And like you said, Chench, like I did not care about me. I was like, I don't know how I'm going to tell my grandma this. Like she's 86 years old, love her to death, and she's my inspiration. But like, how do I tell her that I have cancer right now? It wasn't even a thought in my mind. And my poor Uncle Mikey, like God rest his soul, were like, yeah, we'll get to that funeral. And we laugh about it because he would laugh about it. But, you know, when you really think about it.
And COVID's going on while you're going through this. Come on.
And COVID. That was like not even like, I was like, screw COVID. I don't even care about this point because my ID doctor, my infectious disease doctor, who they put on my case because of COVID, was like, you do not need to worry about this, honey. Like, this is cancer. And like, whatever people say, don't worry about it. And I was like, all right.
Oh so,
you know, and when doctors are telling you that, you're like, wait a minute, we're in a pandemic. Like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
So it was definitely one of those.
Gab, when I was listening to your podcast, That Causes Cancer, I want to talk about that too, because I just think it's, you know, really, really awesome. But one of the things I heard from one of your first podcasts is I could hear how scared you were in your voice, but I also heard this like determination that was like, oh, that's a little different. Like, and we always talk about a lot of the guys we talk to with the power of perspective. Like, you know, you have cancer and that was the truth of this whole thing. And I feel like you could have gone either way. You could have gone down the road of the victim mentality of, oh man, what am I going to do? But when I heard you say what you said, I'm like, wow, your perspective went totally different. You're like, oh, I know I'm going to kick cancer's ass. I already know that. And I got to figure that out. And can you talk about that a little bit? Like the initial stage 4 lymphoma, you get diagnosed, but then all of a sudden your mind frame goes to, I'm going to kick this thing's ass and get on with my life. How did you have that perspective?
Yeah, so it's really hard to answer that just because I don't know, but like there was something in me that just kind of felt like I have to do this for my family, my people. I had a really big following, and I'm sure you did as well, Change, and that kind of is what inspired me. And I hate using the word inspired because I feel like everyone tells everyone to be inspired, and I'm very a big person for toxic positivity, which you'll hear a lot about in my podcast, but it basically, a short definition is people telling you to stay positive, but it's almost like the last thing you want to hear because you know that you have to do that already. And when people who don't, and this isn't, a diss to anyone, but it's like when people don't know what you're going through and they're telling you like you'll be fine, you're kind of like,
yeah, you get a little vindictive towards that. I know.
You do.
Yeah.
And like I hate feeling like that, but you can't help it. And I know you feel like this too, Chinch, because people just do it out of love, but it comes across in a different way.
Right.
So
right
away, people were finding out about me, and I guess that says a lot about me that I have this group, this big following, but I hated it. Like I didn't want people to know. So going back to what you're saying, Sean, is like that kind of like ignited the fire under my ass. If I could like, I didn't know if I was allowed to curse.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, you're allowed to curse.
Oh, amazing. Now it's a different interview. But yeah, like it lit this fire under my ass, and I kind of was just like, I gotta do this. Like there's not a thought in my mind that I'm not gonna beat cancer, so that's already checked off. But now I have to figure out the ways to do it. And one, it starts with my attitude. And if I'm sitting here and thinking I'm miserable, and don't get me wrong, I did have those times.
Of course.
But 90% of the time, which is a big percent of, I feel like I was like, even in chemo, like I'm like, all right, like let's get this shit over with,
Yeah.
And it was just, I think that's what pushed me the most. Like the people that loved me the most is what kind of pushed me to be at that attitude that I was at.
Yeah, two things on that. First of all, the support that you had, I was telling Sean before, like golf outings and like Gabby Strong stuff. That was really amazing. And I'll get to your husband now in a minute, but I need to shake that guy's hand because he seems like a tremendous person, and his support of you is part of in your podcast is something that's just amazing. So seems like you have an amazing guy there, and that's great. But I look back, there was one thing you said. You were talking about how you wound up in like a pediatric unit of a hospital. I want to ask you about that because I had an experience. And Sean, you don't know this either. This is a heavy show for Sean right now.
What the hell, shit? I don't even know what the hell's going on with your life anymore. I figured you'd tell me this shit a long time ago.
So I'm sitting at. Well, the interesting thing, what Gabby just said, made me think too. Also, people want to call you and they want to hear your story, but you can't tell this horrible story every day to a different person and go through the motions of what you were doing. So I actually stopped answering the phone for a little while, and I would shoot a text, me like, I got all your messages, I'm cool, whatever. But let me go back to this other thing, which is this is going to freak you out case. But so I'm sitting in NYU Cancer Institute, and now this is my first PET scan or whatever scan bullshit you got to go through. And I'm sitting there, and I was like, I cannot fucking believe that this happened to me. Not that and I was like, I'm going to beat it, whatever. And I was like, feeling sorry myself. And I look over, I swear I'll never forget this kid's face. He was like 7 years old, shaved head, scar going from here all the way to the back of his head. And I was like, it was like a slap in the face to me going, see, like you see that kid? He's not complaining. He's not crying. He's sitting there like playing with his toys and laughing with his mom. And I'm like, I have to be like that kid. And I was more inspired by the children that I was in these rooms with than I was almost by the adults. I don't know if you felt that way too.
Yeah, definitely. So my oncology team that I chose, and my main oncologist is an actual pediatric oncologist, but he does an AYA program, which is adolescent and young adult. So I fell into that age range, and I think it's like 15 to mid 30s, and I was 28 at the time. So I kind of was in a pediatric unit with all these kids ranging, and they were younger. I was like really the minority in that group. I was the older one, and I think the oldest one underneath me was like 15. So most of the kids were 10 and under. So when I used to go for treatments and you say you saw this poor kid, oh my God. And I can relate to that so much because I remember complaining. I first had lost my hair, and obviously it's a little different for like a woman, I had these long locks and I lost it and I was so sad. But there was this, and I had these, like, I don't know if you had these, Chinch, but they called them like strawberry something, and like they're little red things on your head, but like you can have a lot, they can be big, small, whatever, but you don't notice them because you have hair. And so I had one and I was freaking out about it. I'm like, this thing's so ugly. Like, what is this thing? I never knew I even had it. And my oncologist comes up to me and she's like, come here. And she brought me into this room with this 4-year-old little boy, Jaden. I know him to this day. And she looked at me and he had like this big scar on his head and also like one of those big strawberry things. And I was like, okay, I'm going to shut up now. Like, just seeing him, and that's not even him getting chemo. Like, that was just like him, the way he looked. And he just looked at me and he smiled. And I was like, what the hell are you complaining about? Like, shut up,
it's
you know?
So true.
And I totally get that. Yeah.
I was I was extremely vain. Like, if I had a zit, I wouldn't want to go out on the weekends when I was younger, whatever. And then, I'm serious. And now, like, I have this huge circle of a scar on the side of my head. It's my favorite thing on my body. It's like having a tattoo. And when you go back to that, like you were saying, I heard this, and I meant to ask you this because what you just brought up. When I went through mine, I was going to have like some sort of nerve damage where I could like my face could go down or whatever like that. And when a guy was telling me about this scar, he goes, yeah, you're going to have a scar on your head, but whatever, you're a guy. It's a big difference. And I thought of it like when we were about to bring you on, I'm like, it is a big difference. Guys can have scars and it makes them tough or cool. It's like how men age gracefully and women are like, you asshole, you're 60 and you're gray and it looks good. Totally. The part of being a woman and like you said, losing your hair or losing your complexion and your skin tone and all that must have been like, it's a tougher fight, I feel like, in a lot of ways for a woman than it is for a man.
Yeah, I think the hair thing was probably one of the hardest things I struggled with. And not because I couldn't, like, once I was bald, everyone's like, you have a great head, blah, blah, blah. And I'm sure you heard this too. I feel like that's what they say to every cancer patient. It's like they have to. But, I rocked it. I tried to rock it. And I really didn't wear wigs. It just wasn't really my thing. I was just like, let me rock the bald head. I rocked this, like, whatever the heck this thing is now. And, but losing my hair was hard because, like I said, I was growing it for a year before this. So my hair was like long, like to my waist type of thing. And then they were like, you're just, you're going to lose it. And it comes out in pieces, as you know, Chin. So like, Sean, like, you're losing it from the top of your head, not the bottom. So like, I'm just getting all these patches. And at some point you just have to be like, we got to cut it and shave it. So after, I think, my first 2 sessions of chemo, I wound up doing it in the middle of April. So about a month after I was diagnosed, and it just started growing back about 2 months ago. So it's coming back now.
And Gab, what about the people, like, obviously that's a very traumatic experience to go through. I mean, but the people that you had in your life, your husband now, who I think was your boyfriend at the time.
Yes.
And then also your mom. You talked about something in your podcast where you talked about that feeling of losing your independence. Here you are, you're finally out getting a job, and now you're like, hey, I need help again. I mean, can you talk about that, losing your independence, and what that felt like?
Yeah, sure. So that was why I'm trying to advocate so much for AYAs, because when you're in this age range, you're learning to become an adult. And when this illness hits you and you really need to, go to your parents or a husband or a wife or whoever they are for help, you kind of lose that independence. And it's such a draining feeling because, I'm 28. I've been living with my boyfriend for however long at this point. I've had a job. I've been building the ladder of success, I guess you can say, like college and then a job, internship job, and making more money each and every year. And then it just, you lose your job. You can't work. You have to rely on these people to, you think about rent and necessities and stuff. And it's just a really hard feeling to take in because you're in your mind all the time, like, hey, this actually really does suck, and how do I come out of it? How do I become that person again? So I'm still in those stages right now, but it's okay. I try to tell people who are going through this, it's okay to feel like that because it's normal. Like any person would feel like that if they were, all this stuff was taken away from them and now they have to try to build everything they worked so hard for back. So it was hard to take in and swallow that pill, but once you get the hang of it and keep on going, you get to where you got to be and you just do life.
So you've started the That Causes Cancer podcast. Like, what's the message you want to get out there? That's one of the things we want to. One of the big reasons we wanted to have you on is because we do love listening to your podcast. And like, why did you start it, and what's the message you're looking to get out there as you continue to do that?
Yeah, so it's funny. One of my old producers at HQ was like, you can't take the producer out of the producer, and I just felt like I was always meant to be some type of producer in media production. So when I was in the hospital, my first instinct when I was alone was to record myself. I don't know why. I just was like, I'm sick of calling people and telling them my story over and over again. Like, let's just record myself.
I'm interrupting you. That is brilliant.
Yeah.
What you did there, first of all, just real quick, you can finish this, but if you have not listened to this and you have anybody in your family with cancer, whatever, Gab does an amazing job of setting the scene. Here I was, here's what I was doing. This is a medicine they were giving me. This is why it hurt, or this is why it was good. And I have an audio clip from that night. And she'll play, there's some clips that you've played where I was like, oh my God, amazing. And that is your producer chops. Your show is different than anybody else's I've ever heard. But sorry, keep going on that.
No, that's okay. I appreciate you saying that, because once I started recording myself, I was like, I have to use this. Like, I always wanted to start a podcast. That was my goal in life. And I wanted to do sports, like the girl take on sports. It was so funny. Me and another intern at MLB, not change subject really quick, but we wanted to start this podcast, and we were going to like basically commentate baseball games, but also comment about all the things girls like about sports. So like David Wright's ass, or this person's arms, or whatever it was. And that was like our brilliant idea. Never happened.
That's a great idea.
Still
You should still do. I was gonna say you should probably do that. I think that would work.
It would work.
We were thinking about it. It's still in the works. I still have the Google Drive with all the ideas in it, but. So there's just like this MLB Network did inspire me for that. So I would think
there's not a lot of good asses running around MLB Network.
Yeah.
But hey, one last thing to end on a positive note. What I want to hear is, and like I said, I'm so impressed. I hope to one day meet your husband, because he seems like, he was ride or die with you the entire time. So take us through, as a positive ending, what was the proposal like? Were you still in bad shape? And like, you got married during the toughest time that anybody could go through in their life. I'd love to hear how that happened.
Yeah. So I've been with my now husband. I was with him 6 years before I was diagnosed. So I knew he was kind of like the one, right? But we never had spoken about that just because we weren't ready. I got sick, and as I said before, I was uninsured. So it was a tough time to say, hey, you have stage 4 cancer, you need all this treatment, medicine, whatever, and you not have any help at all with insurance. So, I was talking to him every night. I never slept in the hospital, and he kind of was just like, let's get married. I'm like, what? And he's like, let's do it. I'm like, all right, are you sure? Like, you're tied down to me for life. Like, you're positive. And he was like, no, Gab, like, serious no. He's like, I want to do this for you. Like, I know you're the one I want to be with, and, let's do it. So it was a crazy couple of days. Now, I'm from the hospital side, and he was from my parents and his parents, and them getting like the marriage license, and they called the mayor and like all these things to get everything to get us married that night, because I had already been in the hospital for 4 days uninsured. So he's like, we gotta do this today.
Wait, you got married?
What?
Oh, wait, how many days? Wait, he proposed and you got married the same day?
The next day, yeah.
Oh my God!
I love it. Speed is a force. Speed is a force. That's some speed right there.
It was crazy. We talked about it, and then they wound up getting someone on the phone. It was a Zoom call, and I have the full recording on my phone from it of just like us signing papers. I had to show the paper on the screen, and there was a virtual kiss, I guess you can say,
shit.
and we were married. Literally, it's that easy. You want to get married, just go to the courthouse and sign some papers. But,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, he's great, and I thank him every day for it. But he helps me. I love him, and we'll be married forever. But he helped me a lot with what I needed at the time, and that I think shows his true character.
Awesome.
Oh, man. Well, Gab, we can't thank you enough for sharing your story here in the mayor's office with Chinch and I and all of our listeners. And your story really is inspiring. And obviously, you're going to continue to, to grind through it and keep going and with everything in your life. Also, too, where can our viewers find you? Where can we want to know? We want to listen to your podcast. We, like Chinch was saying, we both have been listening to it. We both love it. Where can our viewers find you, and that we can, get more people out there to hear your message?
Yeah, so I'm all over social media at That Causes Cancer, just as one word on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, trying to get TikTok famous. And then I also have my own website. It's www.thatcausescancer.com. And that can lead you to my podcast, and it also just shows a little bit. There's some blogs on there, videos and things like that. So eventually I'm going to open up a shop too with some merch. So, that'll come soon. And
Case, we need to hire Gab because we have none of this stuff. This is so much better than all the stuff we have promoting our
hire
show.
me. I would love to work with you guys.
I'm like, Chinch, what do we do? He's like, I have no idea. I'm like, all right, let's do this.
I think I have an Instagram account.
That's the best way.
Awesome, Gab. Well, it was so awesome having you on. I'm so glad we got to connect with you and bring your story to our listeners and viewers, because it needs to be heard, and you're helping so many people, and that's why I'm so glad we could bring you on today for sure.
Yeah, I'm so happy to be here and help share my story, or thank you for helping me share my story. And I just hope that I can inspire more people like you guys and, keep going.
Awesome.
Thanks, Gab. We'll see you. We'll see you soon. Definitely.
Definitely.
Case, I'm so glad to, first of all, catch up with Gab. I haven't seen her in years, but I've been following her story, and it's part of what we're doing here is I'm so glad we could bring people like her on to kind of give the inspiration we're looking for here, right?
Yeah, and I love that she's doing the podcast that, what causes cancer, that trying to get the message out of, hey, I've been there, let's talk about it, let's be honest and upfront, and it's a scary thing, and I just think it's such a wonderful thing, and I'm so glad Gab's doing great in remission and beat it and went right after it with a great attitude, a positive perspective, and things are looking up, man. So that was great having her on. Great talking some baseball, brother. And another great Fun Bag Friday. And I will see you next week. For everyone that hasn't listened, this week, Steve Blass.
Awesome.
Tune in to Steve Blass if you want to die laughing and really hear some of the great history of the game.
Yeah.
And then we got Ronnie Darling coming on next week, brother.
Classing to join up for once in the mayor's office.
And we're gonna ask him about the '86 Mets. Don't think we're not gonna dive deep. There's a 4-part series on ESPN. We got to know some of the dirt.
Yes.
Hopefully Ron gives it to us.
Yes, and I'm sure they partied back in the day. Maybe we can get some party stories out of him. That'd be a good one.
Yeah.
All right, buddy.
All right, Chinchy. Love you, man. I'll see you next week, brother.
All right, bro. See you.